This fortnight on Short Story Sundays, I covered The Beast in the Cave by H.P. Lovecraft. A man enters a cave system with a tour but wanders off and becomes lost. What might he encounter? This story was apparently first written by Lovecraft at 17 years old. Quite impressive execution and prose considering this fact. I give The Beast in the Cave a 4 out of 5 rounded up, because there was an element that I believe holds it back a little bit, but I enjoyed the story enough to rate it that way. On to the brief analysis of The Beast in the Cave, spoilers in this section. Darkness is a common, even core human fear, and the philosophical exploration of that in The Beast in the Cave is great. Lovecraft did a great job of using recurring mentions of the narrator losing his light source to sell this fact. This idea is also explained by the fears of eventual starvation and thirst, the thoughts that generally go through the narrator's mind. The development of the story as well in this context of darkness and fear and tension keeps the reader especially on edge, accentuating the eventual reveal of the titular beast. The mystery of the story, the trope of imagery without image, is one that Lovecraft has become quite renowned for, and essentially starts here with his first published story. I loved trying to come up in my mind while reading what might be being described as the beast in the tale, since neither we nor the narrator can see it through the majority of the story. Sometimes it is described as being able to walk on distinctly 4 different legs, other times it is described as only walking on 2. Then discovers that it's kind of alternating between those different states. The noises that it produces, especially in the context of the cave system itself, sound kind of weird. It's a kind of tension-building mystery, the kind of what am I even imagining? I'm not sure, that the reader kind of goes through while reading this kind of tale. Eventually, the tour guide returns to save the narrator at the end of the story. The fact that the beast is revealed is quite a interesting decision, in my opinion, for this story. I never personally thought that the reveal would be this explicit, nor did I think that the beast described so well through the previous pages would be human, as spouted quite directly in the last lines with, what is it, like 5 exclamation points, something like that, is an interesting twist in hindsight. Unfortunately, this explicit reveal also nearly ruins the tension that was built throughout the tale. I've forgiven it a little bit more as a couple weeks have passed since I've read the tale, but there is a kind of question that I have with Lovecraft's choice to do this. But really, the effectiveness of The Beast in the Cave overall, regardless of whether the reveal ruins it or not, because this is probably the weakest portion of the story, is just the last couple paragraphs. If they were cut out, I would believe the story would be even more strong than it already is. But what it comes down to is my personal opinion that the effectiveness, the evocativeness of this tale is because of Lovecraft's prose. I believe that Lovecraft has a infamous opinion surrounding him that his prose, his writing is rather dry and boring. Well, maybe that's the case. I've only read this one story, but if this story is indicative of the way that he writes overall, I think I love his prose. I thought it was, like I said, very evocative in this story, but maybe that's just a consequence of him writing multiple drafts over a couple years with this story before it was eventually published. The Beast in the Cave paints quite the picture, depicting a very mysterious and creepy cave surrounding the entirety of the narrative and the beast hidden therein. Not to mention what I've already discussed to this point. There's not a whole lot to directly analyze with the story, as I believe it is quite straightforward, not least of which because Lovecraft explains exactly what happens in it in the last couple paragraphs, but I still had fun reading and theorizing about it along the way. Coming up next fortnight on February 11th, I'll be covering The Duc De L'Omelette by Edgar Allan Poe. My apologies for absolutely butchering that title. See you there.